Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to help change the world one person or one starfish at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share. That's how we get the word out about what we do. I'm excited for our guest today, Ashley. I was actually on her podcast, Invoke of You. So check that out. We'll have all that linked in the show notes. She's a self-authored embodiment practitioner. I'll let her explain what that is. She's been doing that for the last year, and also into heavy equipment. So kind of like doing two different things quite differently, which is pretty cool. So welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited
Awesome.
to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it. You were telling a little bit before, but I think it's better if you tell it than I try to tell it. What
Okay.
exactly is an embodiment practitioner?
So I use the phrase embodiment practitioner because in my own life, I fully practice embodiment. And when I say embodiment, it's about anchoring your soul into the human experience. And it's a little wishy-washy to try to understand what that means if you haven't been practicing. But it really is about acceptance and love of your full self, everything inside of you. There's a lot of things when you're younger that you develop in your nervous system and in your subconscious that plays out in your life, but you don't know it because it's subconscious. So, as an embodiment practitioner, you are constantly practicing becoming aware of all of the subconscious programming that you have, and then being able to work with it, love it, and then express yourself more fully, wholly, and authentically.
Cool. That's awesome. What got you into that?
So what got me into that is I had been going through my own turmoils, um, had a pretty rough section in our marriage is what was my catalyst. And so I was searching for answers. I was like, I know that what is happening isn't what I want. So how do I move in a direction that I want to move and not have all of this heavy negative associations? So I went on my own journey, and I went on a I'll plug this. Coot Blackson has a Boundless Bliss Bali journey. It is hands down one of the most amazing experiences I have ever had. And in going through that, the experience that I had after I had it, I was like, people need to know about this. Like, there are so many people that create their own suffering because they have mental cages and they don't know that they have these mental cages. And as I was breaking free of my own mental cage, I just, this welling inside of me said, people need to know about this. And it's funny because I never would have saw myself doing something like this. I move earth for a living. I don't do stuff like this. And so I had to even grapple with my own ego identity, even moving into this kind of direction, being like, there's that deep calling that there is a service that for some reason I need to provide. Um, but I had to grapple with my own ego because my ego is like, well, this isn't who you are. Why you? Why do you have to do this? Right. And so that was pretty cool too. And so in having that experience, I also then went and did a 9-month course with the same person. And and that kind of just solidified that, yes, this is definitely something that I'm going to continue doing.
That's awesome. And how has it specifically helped you?
Oh, how has it helped me? Well, when you first start to do um, introspection,
Mhm.
it can feel pretty heavy because you don't know where to start,
Mhm.
or maybe you do have a bit of understanding, like what your triggers might be. You might kind of understand, like, oh, what understand that this particular thing I do is because of my childhood, but maybe you don't know how to get to the other side. And so how it's helped me is getting through and to the other side. And now it's like a fun, it's like a game. The universe is a game and it's mine to play in. And so even when these, I'll put even negative emotions happen, I can just let it happen and not attach these arduous stories to them that create even more friction in my life. So it's been amazing.
That's cool. And you went through it in a specific, hard time in your marriage, you said, and did it
Yeah,
help kind of heal that or at least heal you through that?
absolutely. Yes.
Cool.
In a more direct example, yes, absolutely. Now, when there is, so if I could give you an example, so I used to, whenever the hubby would do something that I would feel upset by, right? I would be like, well, you need to change. You need to do something different to make me happy. You need to do more of this to make me happy. Like, and so it was very projected.
Hmm.
And through the healing, you really understand that you are the only one in control of your own emotions. And I don't mean in control, because like emotions arise and if you suppress them, that is a measure of control, but that's not the control I'm talking about. It's the emotions that arise that you allow to exist and then you learn from them. So when you start doing that, you realize, oh, okay, so my husband did this. I'm feeling this anger. What's that really about? Is it really about something he did? 95% of the time, it's not.
That's cool. And were you always into personal development, or was this kind of your first journey into that world at all?
I used to think that I was a really self-reflected person, honestly. I used to, people, well, not people. I would like write about my day and be like, this is what I did and this is how I felt. And in going through that tumultuous period in my marriage, I became very confused. I had conflicting ideas. I had conflicting truths. That was the biggest one. I had conflicting truths. And I was like, how can both of these things be true? And I kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, I lost my train of thought.
You were introspective before you said you would journal about all
Right.
this stuff.
So how can these things be true? And then so in doing this work, the introspection became much clearer, very much clearer. But what I say was I always into personal development, not so much. I wouldn't be like out reading all these books. The only thing that got me reading books about growth were to like because the marriage was tumultuous, it was working towards that.
So cool. So, anyone listening, if you're going through a hard time, sometimes it's the hard times. Well, normally it's the hard times that a lot of times open your eyes enough that you actually are able to reach out and find help. Whereas before that, in this case, like you said, Ashley, you weren't really looking for, help. You thought you kind of had it together. And then when things start to fall apart, that's when you realize how little bit you actually have it together. Um,
Yeah.
so that's really good. What are some things that people, could do that really help them become more embodied? What are some tangible tips that you would give someone to, work toward that feeling?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the most smallest basic things that you can do is slow down
Hmm.
and really become present in something that you're doing. So, like, as a practical tip, as an example, like we all do dishes. Maybe you do them in the dishwasher, maybe you do them by hand. But either way, when you're doing the dishes, as an example, really pay attention to what you're doing. Notice when you're doing the dishes, when you're taking the plate and putting it into the dishwasher, or you're taking the soap and you're scrubbing it on the dish, is your mind going? Are you actually off thinking about something else? Or are you actually tangibly sitting there, focusing on the dish and the texture of the dish, where the dish needs to go next? Are you really focused on that? And so that is one tangible, very small thing that you could do to learn to begin embodying practice.
Interesting. I'm definitely not present with my dishes. I'm not saying, except I'm like, don't break the dish. Be okay. Don't break the dish. Um, yeah, that's a good one. That's a powerful one to be able to work toward. And where do you see this going? You know, you've started this about a year ago, and as a business and working toward that, where do you see it going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting. So I'm still working a lot in the background, developing my website and developing some programs. In the next month or two, I am planning to offer a free 6 day, 5 or 6 day intensive. So that's in the works. And then that will be an online intensive for anyone who's interested. And then in the next 2 to 5 years, I have, I'm going to be working on a location somewhere in the mountains to provide in-person retreats.
Exciting. Well, we'll have
So
all that information. Whatever we do have for information will be in the show notes. So definitely feel free to reach out and follow and learn more about all of that, that kind of stuff. What are some, you know, as you've gone into this and kind of transformed, like you said, from equipment operating to this, which quote is an identity change, how has the people around you taken that?
Um, well, I think a lot of people around me don't quite understand. My husband has grown with me,
That's
I would say.
exciting.
So as far as my most immediate, definitely husband has grown with me. We are have been doing this kind of like circular growth around each other. And what's really amazing about that is we've really come to understand that what we desire most in a relationship is providing safety for one another in all areas and aspects. So that's been really great. My kids, that's been really interesting because I see them like kind of reflecting to me the things that I've been doing for myself and talking out loud to other people. Then they kind of hear it. And then when we're having conversations, they will ask me questions similarly in the same way that I would be asking someone else questions to get to their like programming sort of say. So that's kind of an interesting one. And as far as the everyone else, like further out, I think a lot of people don't really understand exactly what I'm talking about, and because everyone is at their own is in their own stage of their own journey, right? So I don't expect anyone to really understand unless they got to a point that they wanted to, you know, make their own changes.
Have you had much, I guess, a lot of times when people go from, you know, a job to building an entrepreneur journey, I don't know what stage you're kind of at on that. But a lot of times people try to stop you, you know, even those closest to you for your own best, because like there's a steady paycheck and entrepreneurship's not necessarily a steady paycheck, quote unquote, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Have you gone through some of that? And if so, how have you handled it?
Well, no, I haven't really gone through that. I do still do the part-time work because it does provide the bills as I do the building.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, I don't really have that. I mean, I guess my dad would probably be the only one who'd be like, why would you quit? That's such good money. And he's like, I don't really understand what you do, but there's no real like tugging me down and trying to make me not do it. So yeah, I haven't really had to fight that adversity.
That's good. What are some of the things that you have had to go through? What are some of the challenges that you've had to go so far in order to, you know, start to
Mm.
facilitate this?
So the challenges I would say that I have to work through when I like, so when I speak about your subconscious and how it works through your life and shows up, that's the challenges that I have to work through because I have a strange fear of success. And so in knowing that, I have to still push through the resistance that I feel. I actually fear people showing up more than I fear people not showing up. And so that is a resistance and challenge that I have to work with.
Hmm.
And
And what
as an embodiment practitioner, I feel into that. So I feel into the fear. I look and see if there's like, if it comes from somewhere specific. And if it doesn't, it's fear. And fear, if something is scary, generally you just need to move towards it. That's your best bet.
So what have you figured? Because a lot of people do struggle with fear of success. They just don't realize it. What have you figured is part of the programming that has caused a fear of success?
Hmm. Fear of success, I think a little bit is a relationship with money.
Hmm.
So everyone has a specific relationship with
Money,
money.
yep, money blueprint.
Yeah, they have a money blueprint. And so for me, when I was growing up, I grew up in, I wouldn't say that we were like in extreme poverty, but it was definitely like we didn't have everything that we needed all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so there was some scarcity involved. So I would say that's probably a big impact on the fear of success is the relationship that you have with money. And you have to identify that and work through that. For me personally, I feel like I did work through that part of it, but the fear of success too for me is actually the interactions with people. I'm great one-on-one, but when you put me in a crowd or in a speaking setting, the nerves come and the fear from that comes.
And where does that come from?
So for that one is like the fear of being seen.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
A lot of people go
that's
through that. Where do you think that comes from, and how are you working through it?
so well, pushing because
Okay.
it's just a
Yeah.
fear and I acknowledge that. But it's the fear of being seen and the fear of looking inadequate, you know? So people
Mhm.
are expecting something from you, you're trying to provide value, and the fear is like, well, what if I'm not providing value? What if I'm not doing this good enough? And so it's like those are the fears. And I'm actively working through that by continuing to develop the program and take those baby steps. You can't generally you don't want to just jump into the deep end with this stuff. You just all you got to really do is look at one tangible baby step that you can take
Mhm.
and take the baby step. Don't expect to run. Deal with whatever comes up in the baby step first and allow that to express however it's going to express. Sometimes you need to actually feel the energy of what's happening.
Mhm.
Don't create a story around it. Feel the energy, let it express, and then you can continue making your next steps.
That's cool. I love that. That's awesome. Just do feel the fear and do it anyway, I believe is a quote. So basically it. That's awesome. In wrapping up, I always have three final questions, and then anything we didn't touch on that you think would be really impactful for our listeners.
Mhm.
First and final question is if someone's looking for their purpose, what's one sentence you could say that could help them find it?
In looking for purpose,
Hmm.
um, in looking for purpose, realize you are already the conduit.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And your only job is to clear the conduit.
Second question, what's a favorite quote and why?
What's a favorite quote of mine?
Mm. And why?
Hmm. I mean, the only one that's coming to me is one that I said the other day, and I put it out on my Facebook, is that the universe is a cosmic joke, and I created it all.
I like that. That's a good one.
And and the reason I really like it is because when you start doing this work, you start to realize how the external world is really a mirror manifestation of what is happening internally inside of you. And you can utilize every aspect that you choose to clear the conduit. And then it kind of becomes a game. That's why it's a joke, and it's you can start laughing at all the things that you used to think were so stressful, and it's like that's actually kind of funny. And it's not to say that people's stressful situations are like not serious. It's
Yeah,
just within myself, the things I went through have become not so serious.
that's good. And third and final question, what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
The first thing that comes to my mind is it's okay if I'm not remembered.
All right. You run into someone in a coffee shop and they listen to this and they're working on some of the different things we chatted about. What's something we didn't touch on that you think would be really impactful to leave our listeners with?
So I think one of the biggest things is, especially when you feel like there's no way out, reaching out and finding that support in whatever capacity fits you, because not everyone is going to fit you and what you need, but definitely finding that person who does fit you and seek the support, especially when you feel like there's no way out, is I think essential,
That's good. I like
because
that.
there's always a way out.
That's right. Awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you need to reach out to Ashley or you want to reach out to her, all our stuff will be in the show notes. We can go out there. If we can change one life or one starfish at a time together, we can help change the world. Thanks for being on, Ashley.
Thanks for having me.